सभी को नमस्कार, शुभ संध्या। इनोवेशन स्टोरी द्वारा संचालित सॉल्व फॉर सोसाइटी इनोवेशन चैलेंज 2022 अवार्ड्स इवेंट में आपका स्वागत है। द इनोवेशन स्टोरी ने अमेज़न फ्यूचर इंजीनियर प्रोग्राम के सहयोग से इस चुनौती का संचालन किया है।
इस चुनौती में सरकारी स्कूल्स के कक्षा 8वीं से 12वीं के छात्रों को भाग लेने के लिए निमंत्रित किया गया था। इन छात्रों ने हमारे समुदाय में वास्तविक दुनिया की समस्याओं ली और उनको हल करने के लिए तकनीकी समाधान तैयार किए। इस अवसर पर चुनी हुई टॉप टीम्स को आज हम पुरस्कार प्रदान करेंगे। पेप्सिको की पूर्व चेयरपर्सन श्रीमती इंदिरा नूई का हम विशेष स्वागत करते हैं। अपने व्यस्त कार्यक्रम में से समय निकालने के लिए और अपनी उपस्थिति से हमें अनुग्रहित करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
ये कुछ समस्याएं हैं जिन्हें छात्रों ने हल करने के लिए चुना है। इस सफर ने हमें बहुत कुछ सिखाया। आइए एक बार फिर से इस सफर की यादें ताज़ा करें।
Can you welcome?
अगर हम बात करें अपने एक्सपीरियंस की सॉल्व फॉर सोसाइटी के रिगार्डिंग, तो सभी का एक्सपीरियंस काफी अच्छा रहा। हमारी टीम का नाम है अनटाइटल्ड। सभी का इंडिविजुअली एक्सपीरियंस भी काफी अच्छा रहा। हाँ, इवेंट के दौरान वो सीखी कि कैसे किसी टीम में रहकर काम कर सकते हैं, कैसे एक दूसरे के ऊपर ट्रस्ट करना है। हाँ, वर्क मैनेजमेंट को सीखे, कैसे इंडिविजुअली काम बांट कर कैसे वो अपने वर्कलोड को कम कर सकते हैं। उन्होंने अपने उनका साथ में कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डअप हुआ है। एंड साथ में इनका कैसे वो किसी भी चैलेंजिंग प्रॉब्लम्स को
हम सॉल्व फॉर सोसाइटी को दिल से थैंक यू बोलना चाहते हैं कि उन्होंने हमें ये मौका दिया कुछ सीखने का, कुछ नया करने का।
और अगर आगे ऐसे चैलेंजेस और हुए तो हमें उस पर पार्टिसिपेट करने में बहुत अच्छा लगेगा। थैंक यू।
The change makers were an energetic team to be with. Though each of them had different skill sets and content knowledge, they were very supportive of each other. I could see potential and leadership skills in all of them. Being from a non-tech academic background, I was very skeptical when I started mentoring them. But having said that, I can now say that I thoroughly enjoyed the journey. I've seen the transformation of these kids from being unsure to being very confident by the time of their presentation. I've seen their creative potential many times. And sometimes they were the ones to give me assurance that everything will be all right. It was an amazing learning experience for all of them as well as for me. Kudos to the Solve for Society and Innovation Story team for having thought out and organized such a competition on a large scale. Thank you.
अब हम चलते हैं कार्यक्रम के उस भाग पर जिसका हमें बेसब्री से इंतजार था। आइए अब हम श्रीमती नोई जी का स्वागत करते हैं। हमें अपना समय देने के लिए धन्यवाद। इसके बाद हम जीती हुई टीम्स को घोषित करेंगे। Over to you, Ashi.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashi Agarwal, and I'm so honored to introduce our guest of the evening. She is the former Chief Executive Officer of Pepsi & Co. and was consistently ranked among the world's most powerful women. She has been an inspiration for many, and we are so fortunate today to have a chance to hear her story. We'll be able to learn about her journey, her inspiration, and times where she motivated herself to keep on going. Please give a warm welcome to our esteemed speaker, Ms. Indra Nooyi.
We will now ask some questions to Ms. Nooyi.
So our first question would be kind of who or what inspired you to follow the path you chose, and how was this journey for you in general?
First of all, Ashi, thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm sorry that I don't speak Hindi well enough to speak to everybody in Hindi, but I hope somebody's doing the translation for those who can't understand me. As I see all of the kids and the projects they've had and their interest in this whole innovation future engineer initiative, I feel great about the future of India and the world, because if this is the caliber of young people we have, I think the world is in a great place. Let me now speak about myself. I grew up at a time when my parents told me what I had to do. And where I grew up, it was, as long as you study math and science, you're okay. If you don't study math and science, there's a problem. And the belief was, if you don't study math and science through school and college, you can never be able to pick it up later on in life. And so the belief was, math and science are so important to life, so important to your career. So don't give it up at all. If you do, give it up in your master's, but until you cross college, please stay with math and science. So that's the kind of family I grew up in. So I did chemistry and physics and math for my undergraduate degree. And I have to tell you, that's the best thing that I did, because I use math even today. My chemistry and my physics came into such great use when I was a consultant and then running a company. So I'd encourage all the participants at your Solve for Society or in STEM disciplines today, do not give it up. And if you stay with STEM, maybe all of you can become CEOs like me of big companies, even bigger companies. Ashi, you're on mute. Still on me. Okay.
Sorry, I was unable to unmute. Thank you so much for that. We wanted to know kind of what inspired you or who inspired you to kind of start your journey and to follow the path you chose.
Actually, my older sister went to IIM Ahmedabad first. She was the first person in our family to go to business school. Otherwise, in South India at that time, everybody was a doctor or an engineer or worked for the government. My father himself worked for a bank, and so we were not in business. He was in the state bank. And so when my sister went to IIM Ahmedabad, almost as a challenge, somebody told her she could never get in. So she wrote the exam and got in. I realized that in order not to be viewed as a failed sister, I had to write the exam for IIM Calcutta. Because those days, every IIM had its own exam. And I wrote the entrance exam from IIM Cal and I got in. There was only 2 IIMs at that time. And once I got into IIM Cal, the business bug bit me. And one thing led to another and led to another. And I had a lot of mentors who pushed me and said, you can do it, you can go further, told me what I was doing wrong. So I listened to them and I changed. But my life is about the luck of being born into the right family, because I was allowed to study as a girl. I was allowed to dream. All the mentors who pushed me. The fact that my parents focused so much on education. And most importantly, in our family, there was discipline. You could do what you want, but you also had to study. You also had to be home by 6 o'clock in the evening. So there was a lot of discipline. And I grew up in that sort of an environment. And that's why I am the way I am today.
We
That's
also
incredible.
want to know that at the beginning, was there ever a time where you felt like giving up? And like, if yes, then what motivated you to keep on going?
That's a great question. There are many, many times you feel overwhelmed because the pressures of everything is just too much. But that's when the best in you comes out. You say, I can do it. I can do it. Because you ask yourself, why not? If others can do it, why can't I do it? And why should I give up? Because I didn't want to let myself down. I didn't want to let my family down. And when I was in the US, I didn't want to let India down. Because everybody was looking at me and saying, this is the first Indian woman to run a Fortune 50 company. She's not going to succeed. So everybody assumed I was not going to succeed. So in my mind, in my worst moments, I said, I'm not going to let myself, I won't bring shame to my family, and I will not let India down because I wanted India to feel proud of me. So the combination of these three kept me going.
Yes, once. So were there ever any times where you had to put in extra to break stereotypes and be taken seriously?
All the time. Because when I started my career, I was the only woman in the boardrooms or any meeting. There were hardly any women at all. Today we have a lot of you who are brilliant, who are going to school and college and business schools. In those days, when I joined Boston Consulting, there might have been 4 or 5 women in the firm. So I had no woman boss. I hardly had any women peers. And in most meetings, I would say 90% of the meetings, I was the only woman in the room. And not only woman, I was the only colored woman who was an immigrant sitting in the room. So I was so different. And I didn't have money to buy good clothes. So my clothes were a little bit, could have been way better. So I had nobody to teach me how to shop. So I had to fight all of those barriers. So I had to work hard and prove myself more from a brain power perspective, so that people took me seriously from a content perspective and not worry about the appearance or looks or accent or anything of that sort. So I said, I'm going to read all the material. I'm going to prepare better. I'm going to offer more creative solutions. So I pushed and pushed and pushed the boundaries of the work. So I am a product of hard work, who had to fight in every situation.
That is very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you became the first woman CEO of PepsiCo?
I was terrified. On the one hand, because I'd been president before I became CEO, I thought the job would be easy. But when you actually become CEO, the whole world is looking at you. You can't make a mistake because people are hoping you'll make a mistake because they assumed you will make a mistake. Because what does a woman from India know about running a company like PepsiCo? All right. And so I was terrified. It's amazing when you get to the top, it's a great feeling to be at the top, but to stay at the top is very difficult, very difficult. The view from there is fantastic, but the people below you are waiting to push you off that view. Okay. And so you have to fight every day to stay in the job. So I knew that when I assumed the CEO job, that I had to make sure that I didn't let that power go to me, that position go to my head. As long as I had humility, as long as I was every day went to work saying I have to earn my job, earn my position, I would be okay. The day I felt I knew everything and I had power and I'm the best thing in the world, I knew that I would fail.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we wanted to ask, what is your message for girls in STEM?
First of all, let me start with girls and then girls in STEM. Today, girls are super smart, super smart. They are hungry. They want to do well. They want economic freedom. They don't want to be held back because of their gender. And I was so proud to read that the Indian Administrative Service exams, many of the toppers were girls. I mean, it is unbelievable to see how well the girls are doing. In most colleges, girls are getting the top grades. So I'm going to say that if we want a world for all of us, men, women, girls, boys, grandfathers, grandmothers, whatever, if we want a great future for the world, we have to draw from all the talents, and that includes the girls. You cannot exclude the smartest people who happen to be women, and just because they're women. So any country that wants to succeed has to double down on supporting, attracting women, not just as women workers, but also as women family builders. Because without women, there's going to be no families, at least not today, unless you guys come up with some idea to have families without women. But I think that women are critical to society. And STEM, again, I go back to what I started with. If you get out of STEM and go off into liberal arts, which is wonderful, it's very hard to come back into STEM. So what I'd say to you is, if you're studying liberal arts, please do that. It's great. The world needs liberal arts people. Make sure you have a very solid STEM background, because it's a critical building block for anything you'll do in life later on. So if you want to do an MBA, if you want to study anything in advanced degrees, if you want to be a business person, you have to know math. You have to be able to talk to the scientists. So I'll plead with all of you, if you have trouble with science, if you can, if your parents will allow it, if you can make it happen through digital methods, get the right tutoring. Because it is so, so, so important that you stay in STEM and drop it as a core subject only when you get to college, but make sure you keep in touch with it, because you're going to need to understand all the new technologies of the world require reskilling. And it's easier to reskill people who have STEM disciplines as opposed to people that don't. So the future requires basic STEM knowledge.
I completely agree. Thank you so much. I'll take that into account in my future.
Yes, absolutely. Ashi, you look just like your dad. Okay.
I've definitely heard it a lot.
Yeah.
We also wanted to know, how do you deal with failure and how do you persevere from times that haven't worked out and where in situations where everything hasn't panned out the way you wanted?
So failure is part of life. And you can approach failure one of two ways. You can say, oh my God, my life is ending. I have had a big failure. Or you can use failure as a learning opportunity. Learn from the failure and move ahead. Remember, you can't do anything to change the past. You can only change yourself for the future or change the situation around you for the future. So it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to cry in despair. It's okay to rage at yourself. It's okay to be upset and, just be down because you've had a failure. When I had failures, and I had many of them, things didn't go right. People wrote about me in negative terms in the press, but I could not show that I was upset. When you're in a leadership position, you have to always show that you have a calm exterior. So very often I'd go into the bathroom in my office, shut the door, and I would cry tears of rage and talk to myself in the mirror, because there's nobody else I could talk to. I would talk to myself in the mirror, and then I'd put some makeup on and put lipstick on and come out and say, okay, I'm ready, let's go. So everybody else, who was also part of the failure, is looking to the boss to calm them down and say, hey, things will be okay, we'll move to the future, right? And so you have to really understand that when you're young, failure impacts you a lot more. When you're older, failure impacts you because you're in the public eye. So you have to develop the backbone to analyze what you did wrong. Was the failure because of the environment or because of what you did, or both? And make sure that you learn from that so it doesn't happen again. Some other failure might happen, but don't let the same mistake happen again.
Thank you so much. That's very inspiring.
Thank you.
We also were wondering, as we kind of move on from high school and get into college and then work, how would you balance kind of your work life and your personal life? And how do you keep time to yourself to relax and spend time with your friends and family?
That's a tricky one. You see, I grew up at a time when there was no technology like this, right? And so I had to travel every time. And I couldn't even talk to my kids through a smartphone or FaceTime because there was no iPhone at that time. And so if my kids were in school and there was a problem, I had to rush over. The good news is today you can keep in touch with everybody through technology. And I think over the next few years, technology will progress even more. But where technology is not going to progress is that you give birth to kids and kids grow up automatically. There's no robot that's going to bring up your kids. So if you want to get married and have kids, or if you just want to have kids, whatever your choice is, there is going to have to be some support structure to bring up the kids and allow you to work also. I'm going to say one thing which might be controversial, but I'll say this anyway to all of you. To the extent possible, make sure you have a job and you earn money. Because if women don't have economic freedom, if they don't have their own means of controlling their life, they're always dependent on another man. And that creates more issues than anything else. So, I mean, I've been married for 42 years. What to a wonderful man. But not everybody has that luck. Very often you have, in-laws that are a problem. I had very supportive in-laws, but not everybody has that luck. So I just plead with you, do not become a victim. Make sure that you stand on your own 2 feet. And the only way you're going to do it is if you co-opt the support of your family to help you. I get letters from women in India who say they go to work, they come home, they have to do all the work at home. They have to cook and clean and take care of everybody at home. Nobody does it for them. That's not fair. If that happens to women, women will have breakdowns. So I think that it's important that you marry the right guy if you want to get married. Make sure that you have the conversation that if you're going to have children, both of you are responsible for the children, not just you. And finally, I'm talking about girls, not just the girls. And then finally, I'd say the men have to learn to support the girls. It's high time that there is support of the spouse to the married woman or support of men to women. I don't think we should have a situation where men get supported and women don't. I think this is a society where both men and women have to contribute. So from my perspective, I had a supportive husband. I had both my mother and my mother-in-law who lived with us to help take care of our children, in turns. And, I lived and worked close to the house so I could go back and forth. And my children's school was also close by. So for 25 years, it was all within a 10-minute radius. So that helped. When I traveled, it was difficult. And I created myself where I derived a lot of pleasure from my job and from reading. I didn't have to go out and socialize with friends and go to parties. I don't drink, so I didn't even enjoy drinking, because I don't. And so my life was about the work, coming home to my kids, just staying home. That's not what everybody's life is about. So, with that life, I somehow managed. But remember, if you want to rise to senior positions, it's all about sacrifices. Lots of trade-offs, lots of sacrifices.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a brilliant, inspiring answer. Please tell us who are your role models? Like, who's someone that you look up to?
No, I don't look up to any one person. I look up to a whole bunch of people. My mother, my grandfather, my father. I mean, my grandfather and father way back in the 50s and 60s said, we want you to do whatever you want. We're not going to hold you back. Can you imagine that? 8 years after India got independence, I was born. And here is my father and grandfather saying, we're not going to discriminate between women and men in our home. Girls and boys are going to be treated the same. So I look up at them as if they were God, because had they stopped me, I wouldn't be here today. I look at people who have struggled through a lot in their life, and they still keep a very cheery demeanor. They become my role models. I go, how do you do it? How do you stay so calm and happy in the midst of so many challenges? And so I come back and I say, when you start to focus on one person as a role model, that's a problem. Because one person can never be the role model that you need. Because you're going to go through many, many experiences in your life. For your different experiences, you need different people to look up to. Okay, and so sometimes I remember there was a security guard in the PepsiCo office who was going through so many problems. He shared those with me one day. But then he was always professional. He was always available for people when they needed help. And I said to myself, how is Sam so calm in spite of all the issues he's going through? How does he always project such a professional demeanor and carry out his job as if nothing is happening in his life that's bad? The job is the only thing, and he derives great pleasure. So I have different people I look up to for different things in my life. So I'd advise all of you, don't pick one role model and fixate on them. There is no one person who can be everything you want them to be. Learn from different people who are going through different experiences.
I think that's a very interesting idea. I never thought about it like that. So I'll take that away with me. Thank you. So I think finally, sorry. I think finally,
my question is that what is your definition of success?
So whatever makes you happy. In today's world, it's whatever makes you happy. The only thing I would add to today is make sure you have economic freedom. Just make sure every one of you has economic freedom. My father always used to tell me, education is what gives you economic freedom. He said, Indra, we are educating you to the maximum extent you want to go to, because we never want you to put your hand out to somebody and say, I need money to live. I need money to live on, okay? So he always, my father and grandfather repeated that forever to us. And so to me, success is whatever makes you happy, but whatever makes you happy along with economic freedom. If you're happy just lying on the street and doing nothing, and you have no economic way of supporting you, I don't think that happiness is going to last for long. That's why I couple whatever makes you happy with having economic independence and freedom.
Yes, just one last question. So what is your message to our students?
You know, the world has many, many problems, small and big. And problems don't solve themselves. It's the ingenuity of everybody, young and old, that take a problem, solve it, and change the world for the better. India in particular has, more than its fair share of problems, because India is a relatively new country in terms of being on its own, being independent. 75 years since independence, okay? It's not that long. So I come and say, the young people of the country actually are going to decide what the future of the country is going to be. And God knows, for too long, the old people have called all the shots. It's high time you young people took over the country and made it even more awesome than it is today. I mean, India is an awesome country. All of us should be very, very, very proud of our motherland. Very proud. But I'll also tell you that India can be so much better. India can be even more successful, economically, even bigger powerhouse. We have the demographic dividend. We have everything. We have more young people than any other country in the world. We have a huge English-speaking population. The whole world is looking at us to succeed. So if the young people all rise up and keep doing the kinds of things that you started to show me, my God, I feel good about the future of the world, and I feel great about the future of India. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much for your time today. That was all the questions we had.
धन्यवाद मैम, हमें एक अद्भुत दृष्टिकोण देने के लिए।
Was that? Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
अवार्ड्स घोषित करने से पहले हम कुछ लोगों का और संगठनों का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहेंगे। सबसे पहले आपके गुरु, थैंक्स टू द टीचर कोऑर्डिनेटर्स। इस कार्यक्रम के यशस्वी होने में आप सबका बहुत बड़ा योगदान है। इसके बाद उन्मेष वश्रुवाला, इनोवेशन सेल, आईआईटी बॉम्बे के मेंटर्स, जिन्होंने फेज 2 में बच्चों को प्रोटोटाइपिंग के लिए मेंटर किया। Thanks to the mentors. Then the judges from Amazon, सारे पैनलिस्ट और फेज 1 के एक्सपर्ट्स के विशेषज्ञों को धन्यवाद। एंड तीसरा आप सब। अब हम इस जुई को निवेदन करते हैं कि जीते हुए टीम्स के नाम घोषित करें।
Hello everyone. So I hope that the talk, like everyone enjoyed the talk, and now we are here for the award ceremony. We have 2 special mentions and 3 awards, but just know that we are proud of all the teams, and all the teams performed really well. We got a feedback from judges. We saw the projects ourselves, and they were so good and innovative, and it was just awesome to just look at this young mind at work and come up with such great ideas. So starting with the first special mention, the first special mention goes to Team 4 from Jaipur, Rajasthan. They came up with a very frugal, portable, and a versatile device to rescue children or animals who fell in the borewells, which is an event not so uncommon in rural parts of India. So kudos to Team 4. The next is special mention 2 goes to Change Makers from Mumbai, Maharashtra. This team had an amazing and very contagious enthusiasm. Their team presentation and they also came up with a marketing strategy in place for the app that they created for fitness awareness and reducing obesity-related health issues in children. So congratulations, Team Change Makers. Keep up the good work. Now, moving on to award for the 3rd place, the second runner-up. This award goes to Team Sunlight from Andhra Pradesh. They came up with a very innovative and a frugal solution for waterlogging, to avoid waterlogging on roads due to blockage in trains, and to avoid the loss of life due to manual scavengers, which are required to clear these blocks. So congratulations, Team Sunlight. The next award is the runner-up, award number 2, which goes to Team Invincibles. This team is an all-girls team from Dehradun, Uttarakhand, and they came up with a solution to avoid road accidents that happen in their region, the hilly regions, due to lack of, so they made a digital speed detection and warning board. And the main point of their solution was it was very affordable and something that can be implemented in small regions of these cities. So congratulations, Team Invincible. And finally, the first place, the winners of SFS, it goes to Team Free Thinkers from Siliguri, Uttarakhand. The presentation of this team, the solution that was provided by the team, and the way it was, the solution was provided, it was spot on. The judges were really happy, and they came up with a solution to avoid the hazards that are caused by electrical poles and street lights. And they also came up with solutions to make it more optimal by adding chargers, security cameras, and they had a whole system put in place with a great model. So congratulations, Team Three Fingers, and congratulations to all the winners and the participants who were part of this team. We thoroughly enjoyed, and it was inspiring for us too to look at such great solutions from your end.
Thank you so much.
टीमों को और उन सभी को बहुत बधाई जो इस प्रतियोगिता का हिस्सा बने। आज हमारे साथ समय बिताने और हमें प्रेरणा देने के लिए एक बार फिर सुश्री इंद्रा नूई जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So thank you so much. That's about the end of this ceremony. Congratulations to all the participating team. Congratulations to the winners. And we'll get in touch with the winners again. And do follow us on Instagram. And we hope to see you all again at Solver Society Phase 2. Thank you so much for taking our time to be here at this award ceremony. Bye.